Okay. I'm live, babe. I'm live. What book is that? What is that called? Hi, guys. I have not consistently been on here on Mondays, so I wanted to check in. Babe, Carter's talking.
What?
She said something. I don't know.
Can't speak that loud. Hey guys.
Hi, Queen Fox. Hi, Ty.
Why are you yelling? Just speak more. I told her.
You want me to whisper?
Just like that. You can just speak like that, but you don't have to. You don't have to yell.
Hey, ladies. I'm checking in. I'm going to give it a few minutes to see if anyone else joins us. If not, I'm still going to post this live because I want to have a discussion. Hi, everyone. I wanted to jump on here because I have not been consistently coming in here on Mondays at 9. My schedule has gotten a little busy. I have started to wear some additional hats in my community, and because I have began consultations with my online community, which has been amazing. But I do also want to continue to come on here and have live discussion and continue to be a vessel for you guys to receive information. So if you're here and you're joining me, thanks for joining me. If you're new here, can you please leave your name, tell me the ages of your kids, and tell me what city you're coming from. I always like to know kind of what people are a part of the village. But we can pick up on all your feedback in the background. Today I wanted to have a discussion. Oh man, I think my connection is bad in here.
Turn the Wi-Fi off.
So I wanted to jump on here. So I usually come on here on Monday at 9 and we discuss a certain topic. I wanted to first just make sure that you guys know that this is always a safe space for us to come together and collaborate and have a live discussion on the topic of choice. So with that, there's no judgment. We want to give ourselves grace. And we just want to be a source of support for other women here, because that's my passion and that's my purpose. And so today I wanted to talk about raising multiples. I have 3 daughters, and as recently I've been sharing online on my posts about raising different kids, and how challenging that is to be raising multiples, because they all come with like their own personalities. They come with their own temperaments, and you almost have to like have a multiple personality disorder, because you often have to shift the way you're parenting your different children because they're unique. And so it makes you have to fluctuate, which can be exhausting, because you might have kids at different age levels. You might have kids that are different genders, who have different interests, but that makes us have to, have a lot of energy, because we always are having to kind of be what our children needs us to be. And if you have multiples, you could be having to shift 2, 3, 4 different ways. So I really wanted to talk about how you guys are adjusting to raising multiples. What challenges do you face when raising multiples? What are some things that you do maybe as some practical skills that you do to kind of help you with being able to have a relationship with each of your children. Wait, you gotta stop. I can't do that. I'm gonna go downstairs. I can't. My husband's in the background, and I can't have someone making my concentration and focus be somewhere else. I gotta be here, present. So today we're gonna talk about multiples. Tell me how you do it. What's your challenges? Questions that you have about raising multiples. What are some things that you face as a parent when having to adjust to different children? And I need to find out, how do I pin something? How do I, do you know how to pin, babe? Me neither. So, as you guys know, I have 3 daughters. I have a preteen who is going to be 12 soon, who is in middle school. I have a 4-year-old who will be 5 in next month, and she is in preschool. She's about to go to kindergarten. And then I have a baby who is almost 1. She'll be 1 next week. And she's still nursing and breastfeeding and still requires a lot from me. So as you can see, I kind of have a full spectrum of child rearing. I'm raising a preteen all the way up to a newborn. So I feel like I face a lot of challenges when trying to raise them. Hi, Nick. Thanks for joining me. I face a lot of challenges raising them because I often am pulled so many different ways. Here I am trying to cultivate my oldest daughter to young adulthood and to introduce her to skills and social skills and things that she needs to know that to be successful as a young adult. And then I have a middle child who is preschool, who's learning to problem solve and learning about her emotions. And then I have a baby who's like just learning how to communicate and who just needs a lot of nurturing and a lot of love and a lot of my time, and she's just at a place where she's just a sponge. So you guys can imagine how exhausting it could be for me to feel like I have to be pulled so many different ways. And on my last couple of posts, I've been talking about me and my husband really learning how to be tag team partners, because when we had Kaiser, when it's 2 kids, I can usually, I'm talking to one, he might be playing with the other, he might be helping with homework, and then here I am, playing pretend. And it's easy for us to kind of juggle having two, because we can give them kind of equal amount of time. But when we had Kaiser, it was almost a game changer. I didn't realize how much adjusting needed to happen when having Kaiser. It was almost like I know I can feel it, and maybe can vouch for my husband, but it was like, oh my God, we're overwhelmed. Kennedy might need something, and I'm attending to the baby, and he might be attending to Carter, and we were like, what do we do? And we began to just feel like we were being pulled so many ways, and we really didn't know how to navigate that. I was really taken back by having 3 children, by having to fill each of their cups in such a individual way. Like, I didn't even realize developmentally how different they were, and that was hard for me to shift, and it took some time, and I think we're still learning how to manage having multiple children who need so much of us. And I was sharing that recently I began to talk to my kids about being independent, because I think there's a certain level of our kids depending on us to create like their plan. Like, what do I do? Am I allowed to do this? And, do you want me to play right now? Is it time to eat? We have so much structure in our day as parents because we're trying to get through our day. And there's not a lot of time for them to kind of practice some self skills, for them to be able to sit with themselves, to be able to create and come up with things on their mind. I remember, growing up, having the opportunity to go outside and to kind of be more imaginative. I'm not sure, and this is just kind of a side comment, but I'm wondering too if a lot of the dependency of our children is because we're pretty prone to like watching TV and iPads and being in the house, and it's a little bit more scarier to like send your kid outside and say, figure out something to do, go find somebody to play with. Oftentimes I can't send my kid outside to find somebody to play with because it ain't safe to go outside to find somebody to play with, or because she's more interested in trying to find things to do inside of the house. So I'm wondering if kids lack that imagination to create because we are a little bit more protective in that way. I have to go downstairs. So share with me, if you have multiples, what you feel like becomes a barrier to being able to support the needs of each of your children. But to go back on topic, I feel like my kids do depend on me to create their plan, to figure out kind of what it is that they need to do throughout the day, because it is semi-structured. And I begin to get frustrated, like, figure out ways to sit with yourself. And then I was like, you know what? I have to begin to take this as a teaching moment and to begin to talk to my kids around self-care and being able to sit in silence or to be bored, that it's okay to have an empty mind. A lot of us wish that we had time to empty our brains. Like, there's times that I'm trying to meditate or I'm trying to sit by myself and kind of be like, I'm just going to empty my brain. I don't want to think about anything. In those moments, it's still challenging for me because I'm thinking about what I need to do after I stop meditating or what do I need to do tomorrow? What bills I need to pay? What I need to do at work? How do I need to continue to grow and, all these different ways in my life, and I can never sit in silence. So I know if it's difficult for me as a adult, I know how difficult that could be for my children. So I'm like, I need to teach them strategies and just educate them on the art of just being able to sit in boredom, to sit in silence, to be able to kind of use your creative brain to cultivate different imagination tools, or to make up a game, or to begin to do whatever is kind of on your heart instead of something that's prescribed per adult. Because there are times that we just aren't, we're not available. I shared that, society will always have us thinking that like we need to like keep our kids busy. Like parents are always like, okay, where do we need to go? How do I keep my kids entertained? Because I think that's been parallel to we're doing a good job parenting if we expose our kids to busyness. And that's not necessarily true. There's just as much beauty in being able to just be. And I think we forget that sometimes. I think because of all the expectations we lay on ourselves, we believe that, we have to be forever going, but that doesn't always, that's not reality. Like there are moments when your kids aren't going to be able to access you, and they have to learn how to sit with that and to be able to use their brains to come up with ways and strategize what they can do with that. Hey, Trinity. Hey, everyone. Hi, Tiff. Make sure if you're new here that you continue to share your child's name and the state in which you live. I like to continue to get to know you guys on here as much as possible. My hair needs to be washed. If you're just joining me, we're talking about having multiples, the challenges of having multiples, and some of the things you do to help support yourself when raising multiples. I know it's hard for me as a woman who has a partner. I bow down to the men and women who are doing it by themselves, who have multiple children, who have to show up for their kids and not have someone that they can bounce back off of. That is, I have so much more respect for parents who have to do that, because it's just not easy. So going back to teaching my kids how to kind of sit with themselves, there are times that they aren't going to be occupied by a task, and they have to find out what they can do with that emptiness, and to be appreciative that they have that space to have emptiness, that their lives aren't so structured that they have to be consumed in busyness and just small kind of useless tasks, and that their time is much more purposeful, and that they are children and have the opportunity to have some of that empty brain that adults we just don't have the opportunity to have, because again, there's just so much expectation laid on us. So again, one thing I did do is talk to my daughters about what is it like to be alone, and what goodness can come out of that. And that's been hard, and I've been encouraging that, and it's been pretty been pretty tough to watch, but everything's a learning lesson. It's a moment of teaching. Another thing I do try to do, to balance that out, is is trying to be intentional about spending special time with them. And that doesn't require like me going to the mall and this elaborate shopping spree, or me taking Carter, my middle daughter, to some great place. But it could just simply mean by creating time and energy that is specific to them, that is unique to them. And a lot of times in my house, that might look like I'm cooking dinner and Carter is downstairs with me, helping me make food, while Kennedy is upstairs doing homework, and Kaiser might be taking a nap or be with her father. And just me and Carter are together and we're bonding. I think that's kind of where we have to start when doing special time, is not thinking about it being an extra part of our day, because again, we have many layers and many expectations laid on us, so we might not feel like we have an extra hour to spend with each child. And if you have 4 children and you're trying to spend an extra hour with each child, you're at 4 hours, and that just feels it feels like you can't accomplish that. And so you almost just don't even try, because you're like, I don't have extra time to spend with my children. Like, I already, do so much. And now you're asking me to try to create more time on my plate. And so try to focus in on the moments that you can encourage them to spend time with you, but in a way that it already fits in your schedule. So for me, again, I've carved out or just been intentional about, sitting in Kennedy's room when Carter is consumed in playing, or, taking a moment to play with the baby when I know that Kennedy and Carter have their electronic time. And then again, just having my husband kind of tag team, If I can't give you my time, maybe your father can. I've also tried to do a good job at teaching the girls to show up for one another. Like, you don't always have to have me as your playmate. You don't always have to have daddy as your playmate. There's times as siblings that you can show up for one another. And I think there's power in that, because we want them to bond. We want them to have some kind of siblinghood. And for me, my girls are so far apart in age that I have to be purposeful when trying to have them share time. Kennedy is almost 12. She's not trying to possibly go play dollhouse with Carter. But encouraging her to, when she's coloring, which is something that Carter enjoys as well, trying to say, well, can she sit in here with you and color? Or can she do some of the activities that you both have in common? Because even though you're that far in age, there's still things that you share. So there's little things like that if you can think about it and you can be mindful, that you can begin to introduce as a way to encourage bonding and to give some of that special time that we're not able to share with our kids. I also believe that we have to give ourselves grace. I've been using that word a lot. I don't know if it's because I like it. Grace. It's like, it just that intention is just so heavy. Like, if you give yourself grace, like if you give yourself opportunity to be not perfect, to give yourself space to say, like, I'm human and I don't have it all figured out, and I'm not always going to get it right, and I can't always be who I need to be for my children. Giving yourself mercy to be like, I'm figuring it out and that's okay. And the humanness of me is doing the best that I can, and that's all that I can do. And so, again, don't let society fool you about what kind of strings they have attached to our roles as parents. Don't let, society tell you that you have to be busy. Don't allow society to tell you that, you have to always be occupying your children, or that your children always have to be consumed in things and tasks. Follow your parental intuition, per se. You know what's right innately as the parent of your children, and that's good enough. And we always second guess ourselves, I think, especially living in a digital world where it's easy to come online and be looking at profiles and some of the most beautiful pictures and captions of people who are doing all what we see as like magnificent parenting work. And then we start to feel gloomy because of that, or we're just like, we should be doing more. There is nothing wrong with being encouraged and inspired by others, to take something or to see something and say, if they can do that, I can too. Or, I didn't know that. And now that I know that, maybe I can try to see how that fits in my family, or try to see how that fits in my goals and values. There's nothing wrong with educating yourself and trying to be better. But what is not good is comparing yourself to put yourself down. And if you feel like you're in the digital world where you are scrolling through pictures and it constantly makes you feel like you're putting yourself down, then I would question why you need that energy in your life. And I think that's kind of why I created My Motherhood Magic, because I really wanted to be relatable, and I wanted to show the perfect and imperfect parent, how you can be practical and show up for your kids, but also have flaws and also have trauma and also have bad parenting practices that were used on you, and how you could, with a little education and information, could change for the better, and see how it fits your lifestyle. And if it doesn't, maybe just question or take away something from it. But again, society will have you jaded and thinking, when we wear this crown as mother or father, that has to come with like this kind of God sense of parenting, and that's just not true. What is most important is that our kids just need us to show up. They need us to be there. They need us to be nurturing, and to teach, and to model, and to show up for them, even when we're not our best self. To model again that it's okay to not be your best self, and how you're resilient, and how you continue to try to be intentional when being your best self. And part of being your best self, in which I'm trying to teach my girls about, sitting with oneself, is self-care, is being able to sit with yourself and know what's best for you. How are you able to know what you need as a person if you don't sit with yourself, if you don't discover yourself? And by discovering yourself is when you are you're most empty, when you have to kind of come up with ideas, and you have the ability to kind of to be open and to discover yourself. And they won't be able to discover themselves if they're always consumed in tasks that I'm giving them, which is why it's important to teach them boredom, or to encourage them to be by themselves. Hey, Naomi. I see that you're from Maryland. You have a 5-year-old. Oh, no, you have a daughter named Naomi. Sorry, but you live in Maryland. And you have another child named Penelope. Well, it's nice to meet you. Thanks for coming here. I'm wondering what brought you here. Who brought you here? And I hope that you feel like you find it of value. Trish says she's dealing with the same challenges now. Yeah, it's tough. Raising multiples is not easy. It was much more simple when I had one. And it's so funny because, like, even when I had one child, I was complaining. Like, I didn't feel like I had enough time. Like, I didn't feel like I had enough time to give her. And her temperament is so different because she was an only child for so long. And so Kennedy is really good at being by herself because she had no choice. She was the only child for 7 years. So there were a lot of times that she had to, be using her imagination and having make-believe friends because mom and dad, at that point in our life when we had Kennedy, we were trying to be our best selves. And so we were going through school and starting our careers. And so she had to get a lot of the grunt of that. She had a lot of freedom. And so she's good. But my second child, Carter, who's our middle baby, she has a hard time sitting with herself. She always feels like she needs to possibly be, under someone or someone to be in her space. Or for me to like come up with a plan for her. Like water for chocolate. Hey girl, it's okay you super late. Mom of 2 girls, 2 and 7 months. You know about that daughter life, about that raising queens, right? Raising young girls is challenging in a way that, when you're a mother and you're raising women, you're almost always faced with yourself. I always see myself with my girls, and I almost parent in a place that I'm trying to prevent them from doing things that I did when their life is theirs and they won't be doing the same things that I did. So I got to get away from that. My girls, 07, 11, and 11. Okay, so you have twins, both kind of preteens. That's a whole different challenge, I guess, raising twins, because you're raising them kind of at the same time and they're at the same developmental age. It might almost be, I don't know if it's easier per se, or you find it to not be as challenging because they are the same age and they can occupy each other and may have a bond that because they are twins, that they're able to fill each other's cups up. But again, twins come with their own temperaments and their own personalities too. So raising twins, I'm sure, comes with its own kind of stuff. But nice to meet you. Thanks for joining me. So I usually am on here on Mondays at 9. I have tried to be consistent as possible when being on here. Last week I shared a forum with Working with Parents, who's a great resource in the community here in Columbus, Ohio, who supports parents with some parenting challenges. And so we had a discussion about breaking generational trauma and breaking bad cycles of parenting. And I wanted to post that on my YouTube, but she wasn't able to save the video. It was some great dialogue. What I do think is within the next few Mondays, I'm going to have a conversation about what does it look like, or what does it even mean when we talk about breaking generational trauma, when we talk about breaking bad cycles. My girl Queen Fox says, my girls are always fighting for my attention and get upset when I'm with the other. even with my husband being around. Neither one wants him. Constant challenge. I was just talking to my homegirl about that. Like, sometimes my husband is home, or he can literally just kind of be twiddling his thumbs, and I am like super consumed, and my daughter will like come and ask me, can I go get her some water, or like can I go and make her a sandwich? And I'm like, seriously? Like, your dad is like not doing anything? Like, you can ask him. I always ask the question, like, when they come to me and I know maybe their dad's not as busy or he has some available time, I'm like, I'm wondering who else can help you. I'm wondering if I'm the only one. I like to put it back on them. I'm wondering if I'm the only one that's available right now. Oh, your dad's here too? Oh, I'm wondering if he can help you with that. You know. But yes, fighting for your attention. That's tough. I think you should maybe try to offset that with a special playtime, with really giving them the opportunity to have some special time with you, and even having conversations. Like, your children can be young, and I'm not saying have a lecture that is way above their developmental stage, but I am saying having conversation around, it's Sissy's time, it's your sister's time, mommy wants to do something with her, and when it's our time, I'm going to do something special with you. Or even marking on a visual somewhere where they can see that it's her sister's time or your time. I mean, strategies for them to begin to understand that, it's okay for mommy to be with one of you, and I might not always be able to be with the other. To encourage them to understand some independency, to understand. And again, that comes with like kids being able to also sit with themselves. I'm going to constantly need attention if I feel like that is what's warranted, if I feel like I need to always have my mom's attention. But there's times that kids don't need attention and they can be with oneself. Just some ideas. My girl said, I need me a man. I've been locked down forever. I don't know how the dating world is. I wouldn't even begin to be able to tell you how to get one. But I will say, when you become your best self and you just do some internal work, things will come to you. You speak what you need into existence. Matter of fact, you claimed it right now. It's yours. God said that if you speak it, it will become yours if it's true to heart. So, if you need a man and you've been doing that work and you feel like that's something you want, your man will come right on time. We'll just continue to speak that into existence. Is there any more comments or any more questions in regards to raising multiples when it comes to having children that are on different developmental stages? I am going to be shutting down here in a minute, but again, I wanted to jump on here because I want to continue to engage and encourage you guys to have fellowship. I also just want to put out there that I'm continuing to do consultations, which is a way for me to have a more personalized experience with my followers. So if you ever feel like you need something beyond just coming on here on Mondays or checking out my captions or going to my blog site, and you feel like you need a little bit more support in a way that doesn't support you, I want you to feel encouraged to know that I have the opportunity to engage in that way. And so please go to my website or share it as a resource. There are several parents who are in need of support and encouragement and help, and it's not available. Or you're sitting on a wait list waiting to talk to someone for 6 months. Or you feel like you're in a crisis, or you don't really know where to start. That is what I created the consultations for, is to really be a pillar and a vessel to share information that I've learned to you guys. So please spread that message, and please feel free to check out what that will look like on my blog site. Someone said, how do you handle your daughter possibly liking boys and feeling she can come to you to express? So I would gear that question towards my older daughter. She absolutely is interested in boys. As a woman, I always remind myself of who I was when I was her age. How was I, how did I begin to think about, relationships and love when I was her age? Now, I will say that it's different because I wasn't raised with my father. I think that comes with a different aspect of things. Like, I didn't have, a man to kind of give me some attention that I guess I probably saw out in relationships with boys. If I had had that, would I have maybe possibly been not as interested in boys? I don't know. I think it's very natural at her age to like boys. So it's not something that I discourage. Me and her father just always talk about her priorities. Boys aren't a priority. Dating is not a priority. What would that look like? Am I discouraging her from being friends with boys? Absolutely not. We live in a world where there's both men and women. So for me to tell her to totally avoid boys would be almost, it would just be gender bias. Like, it would just be stupid. Like, why can't she be friends with boys? Like, I mean, she's able to have conversations with all people. She has a friendship with her father. So to believe that she should just kind of stay away from boys is just, for me, just not reality based. So, I talked to her about being safe and appropriate, and loving herself, and to know what her worth is, to love herself enough to know what she needs. And that's, again, coming with like sitting with yourself, like self discovery. I don't ever want her to be placing value in relationships with people. And that's friendships with both girls and boys, because she's at an age where her social network is solid, and she loves to be social and to be on the phone and to go to go skating and do all these social things. And so, I have to, encourage her to be able to do what's best for herself. If people don't make you feel good, if people don't do things that align with the values and the foundational tools that me and your father have set, then that's really not somebody that you should want in your space. But as far as dating, it's just like, what does that mean, Kennedy? Like, you want to go to the movies? Like, what does it mean for you to be dating someone? And I'm wondering if you could just be friends with someone of the opposite sex and not feel like you have to date them. Because for me, like, I guess dating to me just sounds like intimacy. Like, she feels like she needs to, like, or she feels like she needs to be tied to someone, like in monogamy. And so I always teach her too, like, you're young, like, you're in a stage where you're being explorative. So like, you don't need to like tie your time down to someone. Like, you need to live your best life. So you can be friends with as many boys as you want, but you don't need to be tied down to anyone. But me and my daughter have very real conversations. I absolutely think it's about the approach. Like, if she ever talks to me about boys and I'm like, scolding her or making her feel uncomfortable, or my message is just not it doesn't align with kind of how she interprets information, then she's not ever going to want to come to me to talk about boys. So when she shares her experiences about boys, I try to be as honest and as gentle as possible, because I do want her to come to me and tell me. And we have fun with it. I'm like, that dude, he ain't nothing, girl. So we talk. And, she has her father here to reiterate those messages too. He definitely shows up for her in a way that shows her exactly kind of what is it that she would want out of someone. I hope that answered your question. Is there any more questions, any more comments, any more, just any other things before we wrap this up? I mean, in summary, raising children is challenging. Raising multiple children brings on a different level of challenges. But, I want you to always be able to give yourself grace, to see the humanness inside of yourself, to let go of expectations that you've placed upon yourself or others have placed upon you, to teach your kids value in being alone and having some sort of independency, but to know that you will always be there, to encourage to try to spend special time when you can, and to not let it feel like an extra part of your day, but being a part of your day, if you know what I mean, and for it to feel kind of regular and normal, and not like this extra job that we have to do, and just always lead with intention, and always kind of coming from a place of wanting whatever information you're trying to give your child, something that they can carry to adulthood. A lot of things that, I try to encourage with my girls always translates to when they become young women. Them sitting with themselves now encourages them to have self-care. I mean, they already have self-care practices now as young women, but how awesome is it that I can have my girls be able to kind of meditate and be still and be independent and to be bored and to be empty now as children, so that when they become, in their 20s and 30s, have the space to know exactly how to do that or exactly what that means. Because I know I didn't discover that maybe until I became a mother, or when I became an adult. Just because my mom just wasn't, that's just not something that she valued. And now it's something that we know we should value. So, catch me on the replay. I'm going to try to save this video and put it up on my YouTube page. You can check me out on YouTube for all the replays. My Motherhood Magic username. And then we will continue to have more conversations. I would love for you guys to continue to share topics or information that you're seeking. And again, if I'm not able to give that to you on a more general level, to feel free to try to look into getting a consultation. I know they are of value. I know that, I've put a amount to them, but I really feel like I hold value. I did receive an education and background and have been doing this for over a decade. And it's only right that people are paid for their time and energy. This is my life. I speak it very organically. And so I want you guys to know that really comes just from the spirit. So Again, thanks for joining me tonight. I'm going to catch you guys again next week. Same day, around 9 o'clock-ish. All right. Have a good night. Bye.